Okay. Yeah. Justice. Okay. This is a very challenging book, and it was amazing that all of you passed the quiz, and then I gave not only the multiple choice questions, but then short answer questions a lot.
그래서 아니었어요.
But then you managed to, understand the book, which is very commendable, which is very impressive. So there is a trolley dilemma presented by Michael Sandel. So the first case, so the train is a runaway train, and you have two choices that are laid right in front of you. If you don't do anything, you don't wanna influence the fate and destiny of other people, and then you don't want to do anything that could be morally accountable. Then you would just don't do anything. Then the runaway car is going to run towards 5 people and kill all of them. But if you pull the lever, it's going to go to the side track and it's going to kill only one person, right? That is the first case. And the second case, so you are standing on top of a bridge, so you're not inside the runaway trolley car, and you saw this fat, a very large man, and then you guys are looking at the situation at the same time. And if you shove the man, if you push the man, then the fat man is going to fall down onto the track and it's going to stop the train and you can prevent the death of 5 innocent people. Yeah, so these are the two cases. And of course, like pulling the lever and then going onto the side track, that doesn't seem so troubling. But pushing the guy, shoving him, giving him a push, that sounds very troubling and disturbing, right? Okay, so in the first case, if I were the driver, I would definitely, choose to go to the sidetrack by pulling the lever, because like one of the appeals, utilitarianism taught by Jeremy Bentham is that he does not judge any value. Yeah, so the value of one life is equal to everybody. So that is the appeal of the utilitarianism. So to follow his principle, saving the lives of 5 people is more valuable, is moral than saving the life of just one individual. So I would definitely, go sidetrack and save the one person. And in the second case, it seems a little bit more troubling to push the guy. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, but I think the situation is basically the same. Yeah, to me. Yeah. So, so I would, pull the lever and then go onto the sidetrack. It's called a consequentialist moral reasoning. So an action that results in the best outcome is a moral action. Consequentialist, or you could call it utilitarianism, because it can create the most amount of benefit for the largest number of people. Yeah. In the second scenario, it seems very uncomfortable and disturbing to shove the man, but I don't see a fundamental difference between the two cases. Basically, you're sacrificing the minority to save the majority, right? And so some people could say that, the two cases are fundamentally different. In the first case, you don't have control over the situation. You have to choose one of the two, and either one of them is bound to happen, right? And then in the same situation, you have control over your own action. You can either choose to pull the guy and then commit an active killing of another person, or you can choose not to do anything and become a bystander. But although, like pushing somebody could feel more brutal, I think the action itself is the same, because in the first case, you pull the lever, yeah? And then that is an active, conscious choice that influences the life of one person. And then shoving the fat man, pushing the fat man is also an active, conscious choice that you made over one person's life. Then I would like to ask this question to people who think that those situations are different. Then you are standing on the top of the bridge, and if there's like a small lever or like a small red button that you can push so that the fat man just can't fall down, would you feel more comfortable doing that? Yeah. So I think the decision basically remains the same because it's sacrificing the minority to save the majority. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. So when we are making moral choices, we are met with many situations when we have to make a choice, and then we debate. We have to think whether our actions would be right or wrong morally. And then there could be two approaches to it. The first approach is utilitarian. Oh, I'm gonna go by the order of the presentation. So the first approach would be strictly only taking into account the morality of an action, regardless of the possible outcome, possible results, or possible consequences the action could create. Strictly think about the morality of the action. Yeah, that's a categorical approach to morality. Yeah, categorical. This concept is going to come up in the Michael Sandel lecture, the like 15-minute lecture that we're gonna watch afterwards. But categorical means absolute. So only think about the absolute morality of the action itself. So that's a categorical approach to morality. And then if you approached it that way, killing anybody, even if it's a 1 person or a 5 person, it's just like wrong. You shouldn't do it. You shouldn't even touch the liver, right? That's the categorical approach to morality. And then the second approach is the consequentialist approach to morality. And then the best, well-known branch of that is utilitarianism. So choose an option that would create the best possible outcome when you can like reasonably predict the outcome. Yeah. And then in real life, the situations are really complex and complicated, so it's impossible to hold on to just like one approach. So we have to mix and match those two possible approaches to morality in our complicated everyday lives, right? But then I think the author the intention, like the personal interpretation of the author's intention is that he probably wanted us to warn us, I mean, utilitarianism is very useful, but then if we apply that principles too extensively and without much sensitivity, then it could create disregard for human dignity and disregard for basic human rights. So I think the author probably wanted to show that the first example and then the second example are not fundamentally different from each other. I mean, in the first example, you were situated closer to the situation, and in the second example, you had some distance to the situation. And in the second example, you can just like pull the lever. I mean, that seems less cruel in feeling. And then in the second example, like shoving the man, you actually have to touch that guy's body, and then some kind of screaming could be involved, some kind of like blood. You could, have some like blood over your hands. I mean, those graphic detail could make it seem more cruel, but I think the cruelty of the two actions are basically the same. So even if you are standing like hundreds of miles away from the trolley car, and then you are inside your own office, and then your vision is blocked, so you don't have to necessarily look at the bad guy, and then by pressing a button, then the bad guy is going to fall down and then stop the train. Even if that's the case, that action itself is cruel, equally cruel. So if we get used to the consequentialist and utilitarian approach to morality, then we can become a little bit insensitive, right? So then some of us could be the head of the tobacco company claiming that, well, tobacco could, create some deaths, but then as a whole, it's going to create more tax revenue than the amounts that we're going to pay for healthcare. So it's a better decision. Yeah.
너무 tip정했다고.
And then like you could like some of us could be the car company's CEO claiming that well some people could die, maybe like one or two people could die in the accident, but even if they die, pay them the insurance money. Then it's going to cost a lot less than the installments of millions and millions of safety devices, right? So, and then like some of us, like if some of us could become the president of a leader of a country, like some people could claim that, oh, let's go to a war with Ukraine. Let's go to a war with whichever weaker country. We might have to sacrifice like small number of young men that we have, but there's a lot more to gain. We can gain their natural resources, the minerals and natural gas and whatnot, right? So I think the author wanted to point out that no matter how distant the situation seems and no matter how detached you could be, so like in the first case, you seem pretty much detached from the consequences of our action. And in the second case, I mean, you seem to be more attached to the consequences of action, but they're basically the same. So no matter how you're detached and then how far away one might perceive from the consequences of your action, still, even if it's just like one life that is being sacrificed, we should be, sensitive. We should have that moral sensitivity, because even one life cannot be sacrificed, right? According to our categorical, like absolute morality. I mean, it's impossible to follow categorical absolute morality in every case of our daily lives, because that's going to be, we cannot be perfect, right? Sometimes we have to make a decision, right? So I would, if I were the trolley driver, I wouldn't be able to avoid killing one man. I would definitely choose to kill one man, but then we shouldn't think that it's okay to do that, right? We shouldn't be, morally numb. I think that was the intention of the two examples given. Oh, yeah. And then there was another example during the wartime. So American military officer Marcus Luttrell, so he went into Afghanistan with his troops, several members of his troop, and encountered a group of civilians. So goat herder, two grown men and one young boy, 14-year-old boy. And then he confronted a dilemma, whether to kill these civilians or not. I mean, they haven't done anything wrong, but if you let them alive, then there is possibility that these people are going to go to Taliban and then let them know about the whereabouts of the American soldiers, right? So it was a dilemma that he faced. And then what was the decision that he made? Everybody remember? Oh, he didn't kill them. Yeah, he just like followed the absolute moral principle, right? And then what was the result of that? Unfortunately, these innocent, I mean, I think they haven't done anything wrong. These goat herders, they went to Taliban and then told them where the U.S. troop is. So his fellow soldiers, they were killed, So if I were the officer Marcus Luttrell, army officer, what would have I done? I think, like if it's possible to predict the outcome, if it's such an easy case like the trolley car, like the outcome is like right in front of us. It's going to happen in a few seconds. We can totally see the outcome. Then choosing is definitely easy. But in this case, it was impossible to predict what kind of outcome might result. Then I think in those cases, like if it was me, I would not have killed the goat herders, like the innocent boy. I would have done the same thing with Officer Marcus Luttrell, right? Yeah. Because like in those cases where predicting the outcome is impossible, I think it's better to stick to the categorical principles of morality rather than the consequentialist principles of morality, because predicting the outcome is not possible, right? So like I don't really know much about morality, and I don't really know much about the theories of morality. But then one categorical imperative, categorical principle that I hold on to, that I try to hold on to in everyday life would be, don't do the things that you wouldn't like being done to myself. Like if there are things that you wouldn't want being done to yourself and to your family, we shouldn't do that to other people. I mean, like, what is that called, everybody?
그 데일 카네기 나왔던 거 아니야? 네가 대접.
That's the golden rule, right? And then the golden rule appears in the Bible and then the Quran and what is it? Oh, like in Buddhism, yeah. So like I think it, like when the outcome is hard to predict, it's better to stick to the categorical imperative and then the absolute morality principle that each one of us might harbor. Yeah. Okay. Because like if we switch positions, let's say like another country, like foreign army came into our country and then they killed our family, like who didn't do anything wrong, then it would be just wrong. It would just like harm the human dignity and then human rights. So in that situation, it would be a very hard decision, but I would not kill those civilians, right? And then what are the causes and consequences of the U.S. financial crisis 2008 through 9? Yeah. So there was a time when I was in college in the US, and then before this financial crisis, US was so wealthy, so rich. So that's why I was able to get a full scholarship when I entered the college. But then after a couple years, I entered a college, this crisis happened, and the donors who are providing support for my college, they all went bankrupt. They were financial institutions and bankers in Wall Street. And that's why I couldn't enjoy the beautiful 4 different Harry Potter style dining halls any longer. But then the menu has been cut down to the basics after that. So that is a personal experience that I had about this financial crisis. So I think the reason why Michael Sandel brought up this case in the book, he probably wanted to discuss whether it is fair for like people who have caused the disasters. They haven't taken any responsibility for that. But then the people who suffer from it is everyday ordinary American citizen, right? Ordinary American citizen, they lost jobs because of this crisis. But then what does the government do to these banks and financial institutions that cause this crisis?
The government said that the fault was for the.
Oh yeah, they bailed out these agencies. What does bailing out mean, everybody?
약간 좀 그 다 폭로해버리는.
폭로했다? 구해줬어.
어?
Yeah, they bailed out these banks and financial institutions with what kind of money, everybody?
그
Taxpayers' money. Yeah. That's why Michael Sandel wanted to, discuss the justice and fairness of this case, and he probably wanted to throw this broader question for the rest of the book. I mean, we're living under a capitalist society, but then no country, no society can be like 100% like purely capitalist and 100% purely socialist. That is impossible. So like any country would be a mixture between the two, right? And then in this situation, the government previously, prior to this crisis, respected the full freedom of the free market. And the people, the stakeholders in the free market, they were not acting responsibility. Then how far can the government go in intervening in the free market affairs of these people? How far, and what kind of restriction, like how far can the government go to apply regulations in the free market? And that's probably what Michael Sandel wants to discuss. He probably threw a broader theme that would continue throughout the novel. Yeah. Okay. So like, although we're living in a free market, presumably free market, but it cannot be purely free, I think. And then to make it fair, some kind of intervention and some kind of regulation could be necessary. But what would be the what would be the adequate amount of that, like adequate extent of that? Okay, so we have discussed these issues. Now we're gonna move on to like individual discussions. Yeah. So I'm gonna give you.
뭘로 하지? 1, 2, 3, 4 중에?
아,
너 뭐 할 거야?
1번이 트롤리고 2번이 트롤리고 3번이 아프간이야?
아니요, 3번이 그
뱅거 그리고 4번이 아프간이야? 아, 이게 순서를 선생님이 이렇게 섞어버렸구나. 그러면 내 생각에는 이렇게 하는 게 좋을 것 같아. 이렇게 하고 해가지고 여기서 1, 2, 3, 4를 하는 거야. 무슨 말인지 알아?
네?
1번,
아, 몇 번
2번.
알지?
그렇지. 3번, 4번. 4번.
어허.
그렇게 해가지고 자기가 원래 발표하고 싶었던 거 하나, 그리고 랜덤으로 뽑힌 거 하나. 이렇게 해가지고 두 개라는 거야. 그 대신 1분 20초.
진짜 3번만 아니면 된다. 헐, 나 3번 진짜.
아, 1분 30초 채우자.
아, 나 4번만 아니면 되는데.
1분 30초. 그래서 여러분, 두 개를 골라야 되는데 네 개 다 준비가 잘 되어 있어야 돼. 무슨 말인지 알지, 여러분? 좋아요. 그리고 이제 이름 만들고
아니,
여기다가.
상관없는데 뭔가 할 말이 없을 것 같은데 뭐 1번 걸리면.
근데 여러분 이제 1분 30초를 안 채우잖아요. 그러면은 벌칙이 뭐라고 할까? 과자를 얻을 수 있는데 못 얻게 되는 거야. 그럼 이렇게 하자. 1분 30초를 꽉 채우면 과자를 얻는 거야. 1분 30초를 얻으면은 과자를 못 얻는 거야. 과자 마이너스 1이 되는 거예요. 그쵸?
1분 30초 초과하면 안 돼.
초과해도 안 돼요. 살짝 초과하는 1분 한 40초까지는 괜찮아요. 그래서 최대한 컨사이스하게 자기의 그 argument를 to the point 이제
네, 그럼 두 개 합쳐가지고.
두 개 합쳐가지고 1분 30초예요. 최대한 빨리 말해야 되고 최대한 excess words가 없어야 되고 네.
그러면 원래 하고 싶었던 거랑 뽑히가 똑같으면 어떻게 해요?
원래 하고 싶었던 거 뽑으면 그래도 두 개 해야 돼요. 두 개를 준비를. 그러니까 네 개가 준비가 잘 되어야 되겠죠. 오케이, 좋아요. 그러면 let's practice all together. Okay, let's cover our ears and then 그 다음에 뽑을 거야. Let's cover our ears and then let's do the practice round. Ready, set, start. So Michael Sandel gave us the dilemma, the thought experiment about the trolley cars. In the first case, we can, as the driver, make the choice to pull the lever and then kill one person instead of 5. And then in the second, we can choose to push the large man next to us and then let him fall over to the track so that he can stop the runaway trolley car. I mean, for the second situation, people feel a lot more disturbed and then they would choose not to take an action of killing one innocent man. But I think the two situations are fundamentally the same. So in the first case, the person in the runaway trolley car, all he has to do is pull a lever. So he seems to be more distant from the consequences of his actions. And in the second case, like shoving the man, it could involve some kind of wrestling and then like resistance from the guy and like some kind of blood and yelling and screaming. So it might seem more cruel and we're closer to the consequences of our action. But then the killing of one innocent man is basically the same. I think the reason why Michael Sandel pointed out the basic no difference between the two cases is because he wants to call every individual and then the stakeholder of the society to be more responsible and be more sensitive about the moral decisions that we make. So many people, like when we go up higher in our positions,
나 2번, 3번 하고 싶은데.
1번, 3번 하고 싶어요. 오케이, 좋아요.
나은 게 그거 같은데.
좋습니다. 그러면 선생님이 이거 쓰는 동안에 한 번만 더 연습하고 계세요. 오케이? 연습, 마지막 연습 안 보고 ready, set, start.
So the first situation, many people have decided to
점하기 민서. 오케이.
진짜
응 그래
아,
몇 번이에요?
민서 대신 하고 싶은 사람 있어 혹시?
없어요.
없어요.
없어요?
저 4번을 1분 30초면 돼요.
4번. 그렇게 하세요.
뭐야?
그렇게 하세요.
근데 그것도 좀 안
1분 30초 채우기만 해. 알겠지? 여러분?
근데
어.
1, 2, 3, 4 중에 뽑았을 때 그 뽑은 건 다 다른 거예요.
얘 너 뭐 나왔어 뽑은 거?
그치.
뭘 뽑아?
그 번호.
몰라.
내 번호 그냥 뽑지 말자, 여러분. 그냥 자기가 자신 있는 거 하세요. 오케이. 민서 talk, other people cover your ears and then practice for your round. Ready, set, start.
If I was Officer Marcus Russell, I would probably not kill the goatherd. If I knew the outcome that some of us might die because of them, I would definitely kill the goatherd because I don't want any of us die.
Yes.
And they're all strangers, but we don't know the outcome because it's unpredictable. And I know it's risky and it's dangerous to not kill them, and we have permissions from the
Government?
government, and I first thought that killing them is the right choice, even if it's not moral. But as I've thought about it, killing them is not natural, and because they have a 14-year-old boy, they're unarmed, and their siblings not tolerant. But even if it's risky and we could get our covers blown by them, I wouldn't kill them because it's unnatural and immoral, and the reason we're soldiers is because we want to save people, not kill them. There won't be no different thing between Taliban and us.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So if we could predict the future that these three would go to the Taliban and then rat out the location of the American soldiers, it definitely would kill them. But it's impossible to predict. And then there's a 14-year-old unarmed, innocent, go-hurting boy, and then you don't want to kill them. It just goes against the intrinsic morality that's in all of us. Yeah. Very good. Thank you, Minso.
근데 그 4번에
Yes.
남자 빼고 죽이는 그 옵션은 없어요?
그러면은 안 돼. 그러면은 there is no philosophical value.
이제 걔를 빼고
in the
죽이고
decision.
걔를 우리 쪽으로 데려와서
뭘
이제
지지하는 거야?
걔를 우리의 그걸 그 우리 편으로 바꿔가지고
We're-
천사로 만드는
we're not trying to-
옆에서 자기 동료들을
We're
지지하는
not
거
trying to
어떻게
write a
해?
scenario. We're not trying to write a fiction, but we're trying to, debate like philosophically, right?
그냥 이렇게 묶어두거나 아니면 감시시키고
Then, like in reality, there could be like several options. Yeah. Okay. 계속 추첨, 찬미.
나 진짜 왜 맨날 말고 나는지 모르겠어.
오케이. 찬미 대신 유라 먼저 하고 싶어요? 아니에요.
네네네. 유래가 먼저 하고 있어요.
유라
지금
먼저 하고 싶어요?
너무 행복해서 고개를 저고 있잖아요.
아, 그랬어요?
가는 말에
나
떨릴
세
정도로
번째
행복한.
오케이. 자, 그러면 찬미 먼저 할게요. 오케이. So, 찬미 talk and other people cover your ears and practice without looking at the paper. Ready, set, start.
For the second question, I would push the large man to stop the train if I were there. And
잠깐만. 찬미 말고 다른 분들은 소리를 내시면 안 돼요. 찬미만 소리를 낼 수가 있어요. 오케이. 찬미 talk, other people silently practice. Ready, set, start.
I would push the large man if I were in that situation and save 5 workers' lives. And the reason why people are so negative about this question is probably because we could have been that large man's situation, and if we were that person, we were just watching a train in a bridge and was suddenly pushed and was killed just because they needed to save the 5 workers' lives, and it will be so depressing and dumbfounded. So I think that's because that's the reason why it's so negatively thought. And about this Afghan go-turn.
Uh-huh.
If I were Marcus, I wouldn't kill the boys, but just capture them and put them in jail. Because killing boys and girls who aren't even adults are morally wrong, so we can just use them as a hostage or can educate them as a spy and can find out where the Taliban's army are specifically and can attack them unexpectedly when they want.
Oh, okay. So Chanmi sees no like fundamental difference between the first trolley case and then the second trolley case. So if she were there on the fridge, she would make a choice to give him a soft, gentle shove to the large man, and then put him onto the train track, and then stop the death of 5 possible, like innocent people being killed. Okay, and then Chami is going to train this goat herder as a spy, and then gain information from the Taliban, or like hold him as a hostage, and then
아니, 근데 얘는
using him in negotiation.
근데 이 애기도 근데
In English, please.
But I think that this boy doesn't like really know the purpose of the war and then didn't like really want to fight. So I don't think it would be like hard to like
to involve him into
brainwash him. I
Oh,
think it'll be like easy just to say some words and then,
oh yeah. But then we don't want to like treat anybody as a means, What does a mean, everybody? Means? Oh, Sudan, yeah. We don't want to treat anybody as means. We want to treat each human being as an end in itself. What is an end, everybody? What is an end?
목적?
목적. Yeah, we want to treat every single individual as an end instead of means, Okay? Yeah. Alright. So next person. 계속 추첨. Oh, Gianni. Okay. So Gianni talk and other people please practice. Ready, set, start.
In the first trolley dilemma, I would pull the lever to change the trail because I thought that it would be more.
잠깐만. 찬미야 방해하지 말고 그걸 열어가지고 다음 시간 토론지 쓰기 시작하세요. 서로 이렇게 하거나 이렇게 얼굴 보거나 방해하면 안 돼요. 오케이, 다시 죄송해요, 지안이. Ready, set, start.
In the first question, I would pull the lever to change the path of the trolley because I thought that it would be less guilty to change the way. I don't want to see the person dying. In the second case, I wouldn't push the Batman of the bridge because I think the difference between the first case and the second case is not very significant, but I don't want to feel guilty and it is ironic, but I wouldn't push the man of the bridge.
일단 여기까지예요. 오케이. 좋아요. 1분 30초 채우면은 가져가지고 지안이 가져줘야 되는데 안타깝다. 오케이. 좋아요. So she would pull the lever and kill one person instead of 5 because she's going to feel less guilty by doing so. Because if she didn't do anything and 5 people are killed, then what about the family members and then friends of these 5 people? They're going to blame Jiyeoni for the rest of their lives, and she doesn't want to take all the blame for all of these many individuals. So it's better to let one person go away. Yeah, definitely that's a utilitarian way of thinking. Utilitarian way of thinking. It dominates most of the decisions that we make in democratic society. It's a very useful tool, yeah, and then very understandable, yeah. It's better to cause pain to one family rather than 5 different families, right? Okay. 계속 주점은 지민이.
나 진짜 맨날
저거 기계 안
마지막에
나오네.
유라 다음 시간에 유라 1바로
아니요,
시켜줄게.
그건 싫어요.
그건 싫어요?
근데 저는
제가
혼자 있어라 이러면 트리오 이랬죠.
아니 근데 왜냐면 약간 내가 지금 느낀 건데 이걸 더 할수록 뭔가 내가 좀 말을 좀 더 잘하게 돼.
아, 그래요? 오케이, 좋아요. 그러면은, Jimmy talk and other people write your discussion or practice your discussion without looking at the paper. Ready, set, start.
If I are in the position of official material, I would let the gold horse go. Because killing innocent people is wrong, but we should also think about ourselves, our family, our responsibility of the mission, and our nation. And the future consequences that might be caused by Taliban if we fail today. But however, I wouldn't be able to kill the gophers either. So if I are in a situation, I only kill goats because they make sounds and I make one or two comments to keep letting the gophers. And me and one or two most skill comments to concentrate on the mission.
Okay, that's it? 오케이. 좋아요.
똑똑해다 진짜. 겁나 참신했다 진짜. 염소만 소리 나니까 죽인대.
Oh yeah. So, Jimin would not let these goat herders free. She would capture them, and then she would not kill them, but she would kill the goats. So she's leaning more towards the killing side, not killing people, but she would not let them go free because she believes that her loyalty lies more in the people that she has known for a longer time, the people who shares her nationality with, and then her fellow soldiers, her fellow workers, not strangers. I mean, there is going to be a similar case that Michael Sandel is going to introduce. And that in that case, Michael Sandel actually said that if we are torn between saving a loved one or saving a total stranger, then we should definitely go for saving a loved one because that's considered a more moral action, more humane action. So when faced with a situation to act, either to protect the one that you are more loyal to, then you're gonna choose to be loyal to the people that you care about. Okay, that's also a very important ground for our morality. Very good.
그 소리는
무슨 소리 내니까 발각될까봐.
닥치고 있어.
시간
That's so
찼으면 먹어도 돼.
먹어도 돼요. Okay. That's very
좀
creative.
무서웠다.
계속 좋죠.
드디어
You're
마지막 아니다.
okay.
아니, 그것도 별론데.
You're okay. Okay. So you're a top. Other people write your response or practice without looking. Ready, set, start.
I think that I will shove the man off the bridge. So the consequence is same between you pulling the lever and killing a man or just shoving a man. I think that people are reluctant about shoving the man because you have another third choice when you're up in the bridge. So when you're the driver of the trolley, you only have 2 choices, either to kill a man or 5 men. But if you're up a bridge, you have a second choice about just going away the bridge and then pretending that nothing has happened. So by doing that, you can have absolutely no responsibility of this like crime.
Mhm.
So it'll be like more easier for you to have less guilt.
Mm.
So I think that's why the people are like trying to be reluctant about that.
Mhm.
And then about the Great Recession, I think that the government has a fault, but I don't think it's totally a wrong decision to make.
Mm.
So a bank has all the money and they have to be in order to like let people like get money and then borrow money.
Mhm.
And I think the money is the core part of the people's like living.
Mhm.
So I think it was wrong to give like all of the tax money to the bank, but I think it has a reason about that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're pointed out the difference between the two cases. In the first case, a killing must happen. You know, either one person or 5 people. But then in the second case, we don't have to be a murderer. We don't have to make the active choice of becoming a murderer, right? We can stay innocent by not doing anything and
저도 몰랐어요.
standing on the bridge. But if I would like to go further and then like go through the logics, then in this first case, you can become innocent. You can choose not to become a murderer. Yeah, on a trolley car, runaway trolley car, it's not your fault that you let the trolley car running away crazily. You can just like close your eyes and
이거
then,
모르겠다.
you can just like put shoulders, put your hands on the shoulder and then not seeing anything. Then you cannot become a murderer because killing 5 people is not your fault, right? So I think like in either case, it's possible not to, kill anybody. Yeah. Okay. Not to become a murderer. Yeah. And then it's understandable that the U.S. government definitely had to bail out the banks because without the banks are the backbone of an economy. And then if the banks collapse, then the entire economic system would collapse, right? So they had no other choice, right? Okay. Thank you. That was wonderful. 계속 추첨. 주경이. 또 주경이 다음에 이제 서진이 하면은 되죠. 좋아요. Okay, you're so open of your today's discussion and then start writing it. Okay, so 주경이 talk and 서진이 silently practice. Other people write your discussions. Okay, ready, set, start.
So at first I thought I would like do the same. 다시 해도 돼요?
오, okay. 다시 할게요. Ready, set, start.
At first I thought I would take the same decision as the officer because they're just innocent civilians and including a young boy and they're just living their own lives. But a sudden like episode popped in my brain. Which was the 112 incident that I recently watched in 꼬꼬무.
꼬꼬무, 와우. 고래의 꼬리를 보는
옛날의 이야기.
Anyways.
That was about like North Korea's attempt to kill 박정희 대통령 by sending the 124 부대 to Korea, and the 124 부대 like ran into like a group of 형제들.
Like civilians? Yeah.
Innocent civilians. They could have killed them, but they just gave a strong like
Warning?
warning to them and just released them.
Okay.
But obviously they like reported that to the police and they caught the 124 부대 and after like a sort of small war, one survivor from the 124 부대. And from this situation, I can see that if you like don't kill the civilians, you can lose your precious comrades, your families, and those kind of people. And there's a low possibility that the civilians won't like report that to the police.
so I would probably kill them.
Okay, your
listen to
loyalty
them.
lies more with your loved ones than the person who shares your nationality with. Yeah, I mean, like we could think that the civilians, the South Korean civilians, they betrayed those North Korean soldiers, but I'm sure it was a conscious decision that they made. They probably would have debated, oh, should I not report the North Korean army or should I report this to the government? They probably debated the possible consequences of it. I mean, like they would probably would have wanted to, like on a reciprocal base. The North Korean soldiers gave them a goodwill, then like a humane action, like on a surface level, would be like paying it back and not reporting it. But if so, then the president of this country would be killed. Then that kind of chaos could lead to like an entire war between the two sides again, and more casualties and more civilians could have been killed. I don't know if those like brothers have thought like that deeply, but yeah, okay. This is a very difficult moral decision. All right. Okay, so we're gonna move on to 서진이. Okay, so 서진이, tell other people write your discussion papers. Ready, set, start.
So about the trolling dilemma, like two of the situations that I was interested in both. The first situation, I would definitely pull the lever because in a situation where people's life depend on, I think people's life should be prioritized over the not really practical ethics,
Mm-hmm.
and like not pulling the lever is while some people argue that not pulling the lever is equal to not becoming a murderer by not really like engaging in the situation.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of like ignoring to save other poor people than like just
Mm-hmm.
not really becoming a murderer or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I would pull the lever, and in the second case, why people would like feel uncomfortable of pushing the man off the bridge is because that the man is just a pedestrian, pedestrian who was like just passing by and is not involved in the situation directly. So personally, I wouldn't have pushed him because he is like not the part. He is not in a part of the like extreme situation that I had sort of thought of, and the ethics would be prioritized in this case. And the financial crisis of 2008, it was more of a reveal of a contradiction of the meritocracy than a like neither a public or public's irrational rage, because the meritocracy believes that people who tries with talents should get rewarded, and those who don't should get punished. Those weren't the case in the situation. However, while banks did fuel the crisis that took like millions of Americans jobs and homes, they couldn't like realistically thinking without the ethics. If they like led to be collapsed, even more disasters would have been offered, and more pain and suffering would have been brought. So it was more of an inevitable choice for the company to save it, even though it does like contradict to the meritocracy's ideologies.
Okay, yeah. So in the first case, you would definitely pull a lever and then choose to kill one person instead of 5. I mean, like some people argue that they would not do anything about it and not even touch the lever. But in your opinion, it seems like, being totally irresponsible, although 5 lives, not to be called a murderer, and then 2008 financial crisis, it shows meritocratic judgment that even governments have. So the bankers, the elite institutions, so they are worth saving because they're talented, right? They have the merits. So it's okay to pour taxpayers' money into saving them. So it reflects some of the values that
It's not definitely ethically correct, but like it's more of a clash between those two, because led to being broken down.
Yeah. I mean, it was the only choice that the government had back then. Yeah, but it was regrettable. Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. And then we're gonna watch this highlight. So Michael Sando, this is Harvard University, and then students are debating about the trolley car dilemma. Then there's some parts of the video that seem a little bit cracked, but then there is no, we can watch the video without a problem. It's only 10 seconds of that. So let's watch this together. Yeah. So think of yourselves as students at Harvard University. Yeah, and we're attending Professor Michael Sando's lecture. Yeah. Okay. Should we turn off the light?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
너 화장실랑 빨리 갔다 올게요.
저기를 다 써주실 것 같은지 고마워.
네, 저 간식 하나 가져올게요.
간식 가져가세요.
저 소설도 다
소설 다 썼어요? 오, 이거 선생님 지워줄게요. 이렇게 주세요.
이 사람이 그 저스티스 쓴 사람이에요.
Yeah, he is Harvard University professor Michael Sando, part of the political science department. So let's wait for some people who went to the bathroom. Okay. How is March going at school, everybody? How's everyone's March?
기술쌤이 좀 정신이 나간 것 같아.
Oh, you don't like your technology teacher? Yeah. Why? Why do you say so, Chanmi?
Technology was in Tuesday,
Uh-huh.
and 5th and 6th after lunchtime,
Mm-hmm.
and he's like kind of old
Uh-huh.
and like 꼰대, and his class time was really boring, and he was doing his orientation, but it was so bored, and there were some kids who were asleep, and he told them that
Uh-huh.
너 졸았으니까 사고 치니까 넌 죽어 막 이러면서
Oh, he actually said that? Wow.
졸면 안 돼. 졸면 사고 나면 너 죽어 막 이러면서
사고 나면
되게
That's what he said.
he said 되게 살벌하게, and when it was break time, the teacher said 여긴 내 구역이니까 떠들 건 밖에 나가서 떠들어, and I understood that, but when we went out and it was kind of cold, so
왜 안 오냐? 빨리 와라, 얘들아.
after talking, me and my friends went back inside, tried to go back inside, and he locked the door.
Get the door, please, Yura. Okay. Wait. How can the teacher, say like, 죽어, that is too extreme.
죽으라 했다고?
아니
Suppose you're the driver of a trolley car, and your trolley car is hurtling down the track at 60 miles an hour, and at the end of the track you notice 5 workers working on the track. You try to stop, but you can't. Your brakes don't work. You feel desperate because you know that if you crash into these 5 workers, they will all die. Let's assume you know that for sure. And so you feel helpless until you notice that there is, off to the right, a side track. And at the end of that track, there's one worker working on the track. Your steering wheel works, so you can turn the trolley car, if you want to, onto the side track, killing the one, but sparing the 5. Here's our first question. What's the right thing to do? What would you do? Let's take a poll. How many would turn the trolley car onto the side track? Raise your hands. How many wouldn't? How many would go straight ahead? Keep your hands up, those of you who would go straight ahead. A handful of people would. The vast majority would turn. Let's hear first. Now we need to begin to investigate the reasons why you think it's the right thing to do. Let's begin with those in the majority who would turn to go onto the side track. Why would you do it? What would be your reason? Who's willing to volunteer a reason? Go ahead, stand up.
Because it can't be right to kill 5 people when you can only kill 1 person instead.
It wouldn't be right to kill 5 if you could kill 1 person instead. That's a good reason. That's a good reason. Who else? Does everybody agree with that reason? Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking it was the same reason on 9/11 with regard to people who flew the plane into the Pennsylvania field as heroes because they chose to kill the people in the plane and not kill more people in big buildings.
So the principle there was the same on 9/11. It's a tragic circumstance, but better to kill 1 and so that 5 can live. Is that the reason most of you had, those of you who would turn? Yes? Let's hear now from those in the minority, those who wouldn't turn. Yes?
Well, I think that's the same type of mentality that justifies genocide and totalitarianism. In order to save one type of race, you wipe out the other.
So what would you do in this case? You would,
Sacrificing minority for the majority.
to avoid the horrors of genocide, you would crash into the 5 and kill them?
Presumably, yes.
You,
Yeah.
okay, who else?
He's saying that even if it's a very small number of people, killing itself is wrong.
That's a brave answer. Thank you. Let's consider another trolley car case and see whether those of you in the majority want to adhere to the principle, better that 1 should die so that 5 should live. This time you're not the driver of the trolley car, you're an onlooker. You're standing on a bridge overlooking a trolley car track. And down the track comes a trolley car. At the end of the track are 5 workers. The brakes don't work. The trolley car is about to careen into the 5 and kill them. And now, you're not the driver. You really feel helpless until you notice, standing next to you, leaning over the bridge, is a very fat man. And you could give him a shove. He would fall over the bridge, onto the track, right in the way of the trolley car. He would die, but he would spare the 5. Now, how many would push the fat man over the bridge? Raise your hand. How many wouldn't? Most people wouldn't. Here's the obvious question. What became of the principle? Better to save 5 lives even if it means sacrificing 1. What became of the principle that almost everyone endorsed in the first case? I need to hear from someone who was in the majority in both cases. How do you explain the difference between the two? Yes?
The second one, I guess, involves an active choice of pushing the person down, which I guess that person himself would otherwise not have been involved in this situation at all. And so to choose on his behalf, I guess, to involve him in something that he otherwise would have escaped is, I guess, more than what you have in the first case, where the 3 parties, the driver and the 2 sets of workers are already, I guess, in the situation.
But the guy working, the one on the track off to the side, he didn't choose to sacrifice his life any more than the fat man did he?
That's true, but he was on the tracks. And
this guy was on the bridge. Go ahead, you can come back if you want. All right, it's a hard question. All right, you did well. You did very well. It's a hard question. Who else can find a way of reconciling the reaction of the majority in these two cases? Yes.
Well, I guess in the first case where you have the one worker and the five, it's choice between those two, and you have to make a certain choice, and people are going to die because of the trolley car, not necessarily because of your direct actions. The trolley car is a runaway thing, and you're making a split-second choice, whereas pushing the fat man over is an actual act of murder on your part. You have control over that, whereas you may not have control over the trolley car. So I think it's a slightly different situation.
All right, who has a reply? Is that no, that's good. Who has a way, who wants to reply? Is that a way out of this?
I don't think that's a very good reason, because you choose to, it's either way you have to choose who dies, because you either choose to turn and kill the person, which is an active conscious thought to turn, or you choose to push the fat man over, which is also an active conscious action. So either way you're making a choice.
Yeah, she's saying that whether pulling a lever or like pushing the guy, it's an active choice that you're making.
Do you want to reply?
Well, I'm not really sure that that's the case. It just still seems kind of different, the act of actually pushing someone over onto the tracks and killing him.
It just seems wrong. Pushing somebody seems wrong, feels wrong.
You are actually killing him yourself.
You're pushing him with your own hands.
You're pushing him. And that's
Right.
different than steering something that is going to cause death into another. You know, it doesn't
good.
really sound right saying it now.
No, it's good.
But I'm up here.
It's good. What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew. Let me ask you this question, Andrew.
Yes.
Suppose standing on the bridge next to the fat man, I didn't have to push him. Suppose he were standing over a trap door that I could open by turning a steering wheel like that. Would you turn?
For some reason, that still just seems more wrong.
Right?
I mean, maybe if you accidentally leaned into the steering wheel or something like that. But, or say that the car is hurtling towards a switch that will drop the trap. Then I can agree with that.
Fair enough. It still seems wrong in a way that it doesn't seem wrong in the first case to turn, you say.
And in another way, I mean, in the first situation, you're involved directly with the situation. In the second one, you're an onlooker as well.
All right.
So you have the choice of becoming involved or not by pushing the fat man.
Let's forget for the moment about this case. That's good. Let's imagine a different case. This time you're a doctor in an emergency room, and 6 patients come to you. They've been in a terrible trolley car wreck. 5 of them sustained moderate injuries. 1 is severely injured. You could spend all day caring for the 1 severely injured victim, but in that time the 5 would die. Or you could look after the 5, restore them to health, but during that time the 1 severely injured person would die. How many would save the 5? Now as the doctor. How many would save the 1? Very few people. Just a handful of people. Same reason, I assume. 1 life versus 5? Now consider another doctor case. This time you're a transplant surgeon, and you have 5 patients, each in desperate need of an organ transplant in order to survive. 1 needs a heart, 1 a lung, 1 a kidney, 1 a liver, and the 5th a pancreas. And you have no organ donors. You are about to see them die. And then it occurs to you that in the next room there's a healthy guy who came in for a checkup. And he's... You like that? And he's taking a nap. You could go in very quietly, yank out the 5 organs, that person would die. But you could save the 5. How many would do it? Anyone? How many? Put your hands up if you would do it.
진짜 가지 가지 않나?
Anyone in the balcony? You would? Be careful, don't lean over too much. What? How many wouldn't? All right. What do you say? Speak up in the balcony, you who would yank out the organs. Why?
I'd actually like to explore a slightly alternate possibility of just taking the one of the 5 who needs an organ who dies first, and using their 4 healthy organs to save the other 4.
That's a pretty good idea. That's a great idea, except for the fact that you just wrecked the philosophical point. Well, let's step back from these stories and these arguments to notice a couple of things about the way the arguments have begun to unfold. Certain moral principles have already begun to emerge from the discussions we've had. And let's consider what those moral principles look like. The first moral principle that emerged in the discussion said the right thing to do, the moral thing to do, depends on the consequences that will result from your action. At the end of the day, better that 5 should live, even if 1 must die. That's an example of consequentialist moral reasoning.
Yeah, there could be 2 approaches to morality. The first one is consequentialist. Whatever best consequence, whatever best outcome that results from an action, that's a moral one.
Consequentialist moral reasoning locates morality
And then the best well-known branch would be utilitarianism.
in the consequences of an act, in the state of the world that will result from the thing you do. But then we went a little further, we considered those other cases, and people weren't so sure about consequentialist moral reasoning. When people hesitated to push the fat man over the bridge, or to yank out the organs of the innocent patient, people gestured toward reasons having to do with the intrinsic quality of the act itself. Consequences be what they may. People were reluctant.
There is a second approach to morality. Whatever the consequences might be, the second approach would focus on the intrinsic morality of the action itself.
People thought it was just wrong, categorically wrong, to kill.
Categorical means absolute. It's just wrong. It's just like absolutely categorically wrong to kill even 1 person.
A person, an innocent person, even for the sake of saving 5 lives. At least people thought that in the second version of each story we considered. So this points to a second categorical way.
So categorical morality, approach to morality bases our actions based on the basic duties and basic rights, human rights and principles.
Of thinking about moral reasoning. Categorical moral reasoning locates morality in certain absolute moral requirements, certain categorical duties and rights, regardless of the consequences. We're going to explore in the days and weeks to come the contrast between consequentialist and categorical moral principles.
Yeah.
좋아요수 너무 마음에 들어.
Yeah.
좋아요수 너무 마음에 들어.
So in real life, it would be impossible to just rely on one approach to morality. We have to mix the 2, but we have to be careful just to fall for the utilitarian and the consequentialist morality while forgetting about the categorical approach to morality. Okay.